You've been here before. The room shifts when you walk in. People you trusted are suddenly quiet. Opportunities you earned to go to someone else. You look around and realize almost everyone is moving against you. And the worst part isn't the betrayal. It isn't the politics. It isn't even the loneliness of fighting without allies. The worst part is the silence inside your own chest. The part of you that doesn't know whether to rage, retreat, or disappear entirely. That silence? That's what we're here to talk about. This is Dark Male Code, and today we're going to talk about the one skill that separates men who crumble under pressure from men who use pressure as the raw material of their rise. How to win when everyone is against you. Let's be precise about what we mean by everyone being against you, because most men misread the situation entirely, and that misread costs them everything. You're not being persecuted. You're not the protagonist of a conspiracy. What's actually happening is more mundane and in some ways more brutal than that. People are acting in their own interests. Some of them need you to lose so they can win. Some resent what you represent, your progress, your discipline, your refusal to shrink. Some are simply afraid of the version of you that's becoming real because your ascent disturbs the equilibrium they've built their comfort around. This isn't personal, but it is adversarial. The trap most men fall into is one of two responses, both of them catastrophic. The first is emotional implosion. You internalize the opposition. You begin to wonder if they're right. You second-guess your decisions, shrink your ambitions, edit yourself into a version that's easier to tolerate. You call this humility. It's not. It's erosion. The second is emotional explosion. You declare war. You become reactive. You waste energy on fights that don't matter, burn relationships that could have been neutral, and make yourself predictable, which is the most dangerous thing you can be in an adversarial environment. The strategist does neither. The strategist observes, decides, executes, with the emotional temperature of a man who already knows how this ends. Here is the psychology underneath all of this, and once you understand it, you cannot unsee it. Opposition intensifies in direct proportion to your proximity to power. When you were comfortable and stationary, no one cared enough to oppose you. The moment you began to move, to build, to lead, to step into your own authority, you became a variable in other people's equations, and variables get managed. This is not pessimism, this is mechanics. Machiavelli understood something that modern self-help refuses to say plainly. The world does not reward the most talented man. It rewards the man who understands the forces moving around him and positions himself accordingly. He observed that the reformer, the man who introduces new order, makes enemies of all who prospered under the old conditions, and only lukewarm defenders of those who might benefit from the new. The resistance is immediate, the support is uncertain. That's the reality of being in motion. Here is what it feels like in your body when you're in that moment, because I want you to recognize it the next time it arrives. There's a specific kind of fatigue that comes not from working hard, but from working hard while being watched for failure. It sits in your shoulders, it shortens your breath, it makes you rehearse conversations in your mind at 2 a.m., arguments you haven't had yet, defenses for accusations that haven't been made yet. That's your nervous system on high alert. That's not weakness, that's a human being navigating real social threat. But here is where most men make the critical error. They respond to that nervous system signal with emotion instead of intelligence. The fear becomes anger, the anger becomes action, and impulsive action in an adversarial environment is a gift to your opposition. The Stoics called this the space between stimulus and response. That space, however small, is where your sovereignty lives. Every man who has ever won in a hostile environment learned to expand that space. They learned to sit inside the discomfort long enough to see clearly before they moved. That's the core mechanism. Opposition activates you.
Activation creates the temptation to react. Reaction makes you readable. Being readable makes you beatable. Your job is to break that chain.
So how do you actually do that? Not philosophically, tactically. Here are the protocols. The first protocol: audit your information before you audit your enemies. When you feel surrounded, your instinct is to focus outward, to map the opposition, assess the threat, identify who's against you. But the first move of any disciplined man is inward. Ask yourself, what do I actually know versus what am I interpreting through fear? Separate the facts, what was said, what was done, what you can verify, from the narrative your mind is constructing around those facts. Fear is a storytelling machine. It takes 3 data points and builds a novel. The application today is simple. Write it down. Every grievance, every slight, every person you believe is working against you, put it on paper. And next to each one, write what you actually know versus what you're assuming. Most men who do this exercise discover that 30% of their adversaries are real, and 70% are projections of their own anxiety. The resistance you'll feel is the voice that says, "This is a waste of time. The threat is obvious. I know who my enemies are." That voice is not intelligence. That voice is adrenaline wearing a suit. Sit with it, then write anyway. The second protocol: become less readable. Your opposition gains power over you in one primary way, by being able to predict you. When they know how you'll respond to pressure, they can manufacture pressure strategically. When they know what you fear, they can threaten it. When they know what you want, they can withhold it. The psychological principle here is this: predictability is a vulnerability. Not because you need to be mysterious for its own sake, but because your reactions are information. And in an adversarial environment, information is leverage. The application of this is not to become cold or disconnected. It's to create a deliberate pause before you respond to anything loaded, before you reply to the message designed to provoke you, before you defend yourself to the person who's already decided your guilt, before you make the move that everyone expects you to make. Silence is not passivity. Silence is a weapon in the hands of a man who knows what he's doing. Let them wonder. Let them wait. Make them work with incomplete information about what you're thinking and what you'll do next. You will feel the pull to explain yourself, to justify, to prove you're not what they're saying. Resist that pull. You owe no one a rehearsed defense. You owe yourself a strategic one, delivered on your terms, in your time, if at all. Consider the life of Niccolò Machiavelli himself, not the caricature, the man. In 1512, the Medici returned to Florence. Machiavelli had served the Florentine Republic for 14 years, a diplomat, a strategist, a man of real competence and earned influence. The new regime didn't care. He was arrested. He was tortured with a method called strappado, hands bound behind his back, suspended by a rope, dropped and caught before hitting the ground, repeatedly, to extract a confession that never came. He confessed nothing. He was exiled to his farm in Sant'Andrea, and there, stripped of his position, his income, his relevance, surrounded by the ruins of a life's work, he wrote The Prince. Think about what that required. The world had not merely turned against him, the world had tortured him, discarded him, and erased him. And his response was not to collapse into bitterness, not to seek petty vengeance, not to spend his exile rehearsing his wounds. He converted the loss into clarity. He used the exile to do the deepest thinking of his life. He turned opposition into fuel. The book he wrote in that exile became one of the most influential texts in the history of leadership and power. 500 years later, we're still talking about it. The men who destroyed his career are footnotes. He is not. Whatever they've taken from you, Whatever position, relationship, or opportunity has been stripped away, the question isn't whether you can recover it. The question is what you will build in the space they've left you with. Most men waste their exile. The rare ones use it. The third protocol: triage your relationships ruthlessly, but not emotionally. When everyone seems against you, you will be tempted to do one of two things: either trust no one and close completely, or cling to anyone who offers warmth and call them an ally. Both are catastrophic. The reality is that in any hostile environment, there are four categories of people: active adversaries, passive detractors, genuine neutrals, and real allies. Most men in opposition mode treat everyone who is not actively defending them as an enemy. That math destroys the very alliances you need. The protocol is this: conserve your loyalty for people who've demonstrated theirs under cost. Not people who like you when you're winning. Anyone can do that. People who chose you when there was something to lose by doing so. The application: go quiet on everyone who hasn't proven themselves. Not hostile, not cold, simply quiet. Observe what they do with your absence. Real allies pursue. Real adversaries relax. Genuine neutrals reveal themselves through indifference. You will learn more in 2 weeks of deliberate silence than in 2 years of anxious engagement. The resistance here is the fear of abandonment, the voice that says, if I go quiet, I'll lose even the people I have. That fear is valid, and it is not a reason to keep performing for an audience that's already made up your mind about you. The fourth protocol: let your work be your argument. The most seductive trap in an adversarial environment is the argument, the debate, the attempt to win the narrative through words, through defenses, through public repositioning. Here is the uncomfortable truth: you cannot win a narrative battle against people who are willing to be dishonest. You can't out-argue someone who isn't interested in truth. Every word you spend defending yourself is a word that confirms you feel the need to defend yourself. And in social environments, the appearance of desperation is indistinguishable from guilt. The only argument that cannot be dismissed is results. Not because results always receive credit, sometimes they don't, at least not immediately, but because results are real in a way that words are not. Results change the material conditions of your life, regardless of whether anyone applauds them. Results build the kind of competence and credibility that outlasts any campaign against you. The application: redirect every unit of energy you're spending on the narrative war and invest it in the work, not to prove them wrong, to build something real. Let the distance in quality between where you are and where your detractors are become so wide that the argument is answered without you ever having to open your mouth. Marcus Aurelius, governing an empire while philosophers questioned his legitimacy and generals contested his decisions, wrote something to the effect of, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." He governed by this, quietly, without the desperate need to be seen as right. That composure in the face of opposition, that's not emotional numbness, that's emotional regulation at the highest level. He felt the criticism. He chose not to be governed by it.
The fifth protocol: protect your internal environment at all costs. Everything we've talked about, the silence, the strategy, the discipline, the work, none of it is available to you if your inner world is in chaos. And when opposition is sustained, when the pressure doesn't relent, the first thing that degrades is not your strategy, it's your mind. You start to rehearse slights. You start to imagine confrontations. You start to carry your enemies with you everywhere, into your sleep, into your mornings, into conversations that have nothing to do with them. And suddenly, you're fighting a war on 2 fronts, the external one and the one inside your own head, which is the one you're actually losing. The internal environment is your real asset, your clarity, your ability to think long, your capacity to see past the immediate threat into the strategic horizon. Once that gets contaminated, once you're reactive, bitter, obsessive, you become exactly the man your opposition hoped you'd become. The protocol here is non-negotiable. Guard your inputs. What you read, who you talk to, what you allow yourself to think about in the first and last hour of your day, these are not personal preferences, they are strategic decisions. A man in an adversarial environment who begins every morning by rehearsing his enemies is a man who has already lost. Build a practice, whatever form that takes for you, that returns you to yourself. Physical, philosophical, spiritual, some practice that reminds you who you are beneath the opposition, beneath the politics, beneath the noise of other people's assessments of your worth. Here is what I want to leave you with. The version of you that loses in an adversarial environment is not the version that lacks talent. It's not the version that lacks intelligence. It's the version that gets consumed by the opposition, that lets the hostility define the strategy, that lets other people's agendas set the tempo. The version of you that wins is the one who understands something most people never learn, that being against you is not the same as being more powerful than you. Opposition is loud, it is visible, it makes itself felt, but it is not inherently a measure of force. A man with clarity, with discipline, with a protected internal world and a long time horizon is not the underdog in this equation, even when he looks like one. History is full of exiles who outlasted empires, of quiet men who built what the loud men said was impossible. This is the moment you stop being predictable. This is the moment you stop performing for the audience that's already against you. Stop explaining yourself to people who've already decided. Stop spending your most precious resource, your attention, on the people most committed to your failure. What they see as coldness is calibration. What they call arrogance is the simple refusal to collapse. What they label as stubbornness is a man who has decided that he will not be consumed. One thing I want to ask you. One word or one phrase in the comments. What's the name of the environment you're currently navigating? Not the details, just the name. Work, family, relationship, industry, community. Say the word. You don't fight alone. If this hits something real in you, subscribe. Every week we go deeper into discipline, into reading social environments, into the kind of self-mastery that doesn't make the highlight reels, but changes the material conditions of your life. If you want to go further, the membership is open. Longer conversations, real frameworks for negotiation, for social intelligence, for building the kind of presence that doesn't require your enemy's permission to exist. Stay strong, stay real. Peace.